Hello and welcome back to Real Estate Real Home Stories. I'm Sue Curlette and I'm going to be your host today along with my co-host John Smith and our wonderful lender Tammy Saul with Federal Home Mortgage. Tammy, welcome back.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you for coming back and joining us. I really appreciate you being here today. We are kicking off another episode. I think, John, this is episode number 30, if you can believe it. We've done this 30 times in the last year. So we're going to figure it all out. We're going to do it together and continue on to 2025 and make it great. For everybody watching this and for everybody commenting and sending messages, thank you so much. You know, we're doing this to be as helpful as we can. And we appreciate you sharing it. We appreciate your feedback. We appreciate you sending in your questions. And we want to make sure that you remember that you are always welcome to join us. So whether you're a buyer, a seller, a title company, a lender, a realtor, you know, we want this to be an open forum where everybody can come ask their questions and we will answer them for you. Additionally, if you want to join us live on the podcast, you're certainly welcome to do that too. So I'm going to kick off today talking about negotiations. And Tammy, I'm so happy that you're here because you're going to be able to help me explain to people, whether a realtor or a consumer, what we're up against. I want to give you some facts that might not be facts. Okay. So in other words, I got them off sources online that I did not back up. So to the best of my knowledge, these numbers are correct, but if they're not, sorry, it's what I saw. It's what I'm sharing. One of the things is that in 2024, there were less transactions completed in 2024 than there were in the last 35 years. So if you're a realtor and you're out there and you're struggling right now, it's okay. We all are. And those numbers really matter because part of the reason we're doing this podcast is to also communicate with other realtors and let them know that we're in it together. So, you know, from the loan side, Tammy, I think you had a great year, which, you know, my hat's off to you, but I'm sure you saw a downtick too in 2024. So, you know, you're not alone in that. Any opinions on that, John or Tammy?
Wasn't enough houses.
Short inventory, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
What do you think, Tammy?
20
Other than interest rates, which I'm sure are driving you crazy. I know one of the things you're offering, and maybe now is a good time to bring it up, is that Federal Hill is offering free refinancing. So when the rates go down, is that still, should I be quiet now?
That's still in effect. And 2024
Okay.
was a tough year for most people in our industry, both lenders and realtors. We
Yes.
saw
Title, everybody.
we saw a decrease in business. My business actually went up slightly from 2023 to 2024. However, I just had to work a lot harder. So I was
Yeah.
working much harder for the same amount of business or for a little bit more business. And
Right.
the reason wasn't because I wasn't doing the right thing. It was because more pre-approvals, less inventory, more offers. And so the same client would have to put in 5 offers before he actually won in many cases.
Exactly.
And so 5 times as much work, right?
Yeah.
Where in the past, you write one pre-approval letter, one set of numbers, and then that person usually will win on the first or second try.
Right. So I think that another thing to talk about while we're talking about this is in negotiation, change is going to happen, right? Like spring is coming. And this podcast is called Real Estate Real Home Stories for a reason. I'm going to share a story with you. The last week I actually had a buyer, and Tammy is representing this buyer on the buy side. And this buyer is qualified to purchase one house. Well, both houses that we saw that the buyer was debating on needed a little work. And so we were able to try to ask for some seller concession. That's not something that happens right now in this market in this day and age. But when a house is sitting on the market for 60, 90 days, then these become options. And what we did was I personally called both listing agents, explained to them that my buyer was already pre-approved with Federal Hill, and that my buyer wanted to offer XYZ on this property. Now, one agent, and this is the difference between realtors, right? One agent was like, absolutely not, put it in writing. Now, Tammy, we can't put these offers in writing because we're writing more than one. Tell us a little bit about first house and second house and why you cannot buy two as a primary residence within the same mileage area.
Well, it's
You don't
because,
qualify.
well, you can't live in more than one house at a time, right? So that's really the reality. And when somebody wants to put offers on two homes at the same time, as you and I were talking about before the call, Sue, the danger is that both offers will be accepted. And if they are accepted, then you can't back out on the basis of, I put two offers in on two homes, hoping I'll get at least one, and I got both. That's
Exactly.
not a valid reason for getting out of a contract. But logistically, from the mortgage end, here's how it works, is that in order for anybody to buy two homes at the same time, if they only intend to live in one, they have to buy the
Yeah.
first one as a primary home and the second as an investment property. And an investment property requires 20% down. So
Exactly.
most people don't have 20% down plus closing costs to put on a home, and then another 5% down plus closing costs to put it on another home. So technically, me writing two pre-approval letters for two offers that I know are being submitted simultaneously isn't something that I can do unless I have verified that they have the funds for both. And they have expressed to me that one of those properties will be one that they don't live in. And particularly, I think I know which buyer we're speaking of. Obviously, we're not going to use any names.
Right,
The
right, right.
price point was in the 500 and above range. So we're not talking about $100,000 home where maybe you can scrounge up 20% for one, 5% for the other, go into your 401k. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars that people generally don't have.
We're talking literally over 700,000 for both properties. So, I mean, meaning that buyer, although they did qualify for both properties on their own, they do not qualify for both properties together. So we are not, I personally, and anybody that knows me knows I don't break the rules. Like, I follow the rules. I went to Chili's one time, and you guys will laugh at me for saying this, but I went to Chili's one time, and like 30 minutes later, we were waiting for a cup for some food we were taking home or whatever, right? And I'm like, whatever. So my husband or whoever was with me ends up putting this cup, this little like salsa dish in the to-go
Ramekin.
stuff, right? And then we get home and here's this salsa dish. Now I have a cabinet full of dishes, right? The only dish I can see is this little Chili's salsa dish. And I'm like,
A
we stole that
ramekin.
salsa dish. We stole that salsa dish. I end up going back to Chili's with this salsa dish and telling them, somebody left this outside. I wanted to bring it in for you because it was bothering me in my cabinet. I cannot do something dishonest. I will get caught. It will come back and bite me. So I don't even try. So now the other agent, let's flip. So we've got one agent saying, no, I will not present this to my seller. Now, important to note, because the house has been on the market for over 60 days. Let's talk about that in a minute. Let's go to realtor number 2 on the flip side of that. I call him. Hi, let me explain my situation. I have a buyer that does not qualify for two houses, but would like to submit a verbal offer on your property. What's he say? What are your terms? So I talked to him about our terms. I talked to him about our sales price, about closing assistance, what we're looking for. He calls me back and says, my seller will accept. So I write up the offer. We're ratified same day. Now let's go visit the seller number 1 that doesn't even know he has an offer. Now, here's the problem with that. The seller, I want to believe, I truly want to believe that the agent is just telling me they didn't tell their seller. But if they didn't tell their seller and that house is now at 90 days on the market, don't you think that seller had a right to know that they could have negotiated a deal and potentially sold their house? So that realtor, guys, listen, if you're a realtor, you can't do that. The license law is very clear. An offer is an offer, whether it's in a letter of intent, whether it's in a text message, an email, whether it's a phone call, it still is an offer and it's still the beginning of negotiation. Now, 2025 is going to come in like a tornado, right? We're already seeing it. We're seeing 5, 6, 7 offers in February going in on one property if it's in a high area, and there's not enough inventory. So please, agents, hear what we're saying. When you get an offer, it doesn't matter if it's on a napkin and somebody hands it to you in a restaurant. You need to show your seller that napkin or work out the terms with them so that you can negotiate on behalf of your client. It's so important that you guys take this to heart because you represent your side. You got to do the right thing all the time. That's what I live by. I think that's what Tammy lives by. It's what John lives by. And we got to follow the rules and the law very clearly. So, do you guys have anything to add to that little story? Because it really was interesting to see how that played out and the difference between listing agents' responses.
Well, I think that's why the property's been on the market for 60 days. Is because the agent isn't doing
Exactly.
the job
Right?
properly.
I
And
mean,
it's probably still on the market if we were to check today, right, Sue? Still sitting on the market, will
it
continue
is on
sitting
the
on
market
market,
still. Yes,
right?
it is still on the market. And days on the market, John,
His,
how do you
his
feel about
loss.
days on the market? We're going out. I'm sorry. How do you feel about days on the market when you're going out and you see that a property's been on 30, 60, 90 days? What happens in your mind to that seller?
Well, I don't know because I don't have listings that take that long to sell. However,
Right.
if I had a buyer, and I don't, but I have represented buyers before, and
Yeah.
usually that's an opportunity, like you said, for some heavier negotiations than it would have been in 3 days. And I think the seller puts themselves in a bad spot. And it probably was a combination of these two factors. The seller thought that their house was worth more than it was. The agent lacked the skills to communicate the comps and the reason for not overpricing, and or the agent lacked the skills to have that conversation and chose to take the listing anyway. Speaking as primarily a listing agent, if you allow that situation to happen, you're probably going to get fired. So if that's the risk you want to take, then you got to know what the outcome's probably going to be.
Right. And for me, Sue, when I have a client placing an offer on a home, my very first question is, what's the address of the property? And I pull it up online and I look for two things. Number one, do I happen to know the listing agent, which many times I do? And secondly, how long has it been on the market? Because if it's been on the market for uh, a month with no price reduction, and the person that I've pre-approved is now offering full price, to me, that gives me a pretty good gauge as to whether that deal is going to happen or not, right? But if the house has been on the market, you pull it up and it shows it's been on the market for 8 hours, and they're offering under list or they're asking for seller help, I know that's just a lost cause from the very beginning.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be another tough year for buyers with the lack of inventory. I'm getting lots of phone calls, so I think people are deciding to push through it anyway. The fact that there's low inventory and rates are higher. I mean, I got into the business when fixed rates were 11%. So
Mm.
I don't know what they're really crying about. And I will tell you, the crying part has to do with a house that 6 years ago cost 400 is now 800. So it's the sticker shock of what the payment is. I think the conforming limit in Baltimore County, Tammy, is what, almost 900 grand?
Baltimore County, it's 805.
Okay, sorry, 805.
Close. 805. Remember when it was 417?
I do. I remember when it was 184,350.
We're going back to the 90s now.
Oh, the dark ages. We didn't have
The dark age.
electricity then.
I remember 417. It was 417 for a very long time.
It was.
Now,
It was.
now it's almost twice that.
Yes. So the crying part has to do with the actual realizing $4 grand for a house. So, but buyers, you got to be ready to hustle because, and we hear it all the time. I love this, which I really don't. I'm being facetious. I should have listened to you. I'm like, that and a cup of coffee, and I don't even like coffee. Coffee does nothing for me.
Somebody came in and said they did not have any offers. So we went in, we submitted an offer to them, and she called back and said, I took another offer. Now, this might seem like, okay, well, she got another one in the meantime. And she just forgot to reach out to me and say, hey, I got another offer. I know I told you I didn't have any except yours. But during the same day, my buyer would have gone higher. They certainly would have come in with a different flow of things. And we talked about that, John. And yes, we take a chance when we come in and we're not doing our best and final from the gate. But say, hey, look, I know I told you that I did not have any other offers, but now I do. Can you submit your best and final offer? Or would you like to go to XYZ? John, how do you feel about actually negotiating a price after you've received 3 or 4 offers?
I'm kind of uncomfortable with it because I know what the other offers are by that time.
Right. But why would you not go back? Let's say that offer A, right? Offer A has 600,000, but they're waiving their home inspection and they're waiving their appraisal,
So
all these other things.
are you saying are you saying that I as a listing agent have already accepted an offer? Like it's been signed?
No. What I'm saying is that I've called you as a buyer's agent and I've said, hey, John, I'm submitting an offer to you for XYZ, right? That you're looking at, right? My offer is 600, another person's 625, but my offer has cash, no inspections, and no appraisal, right?
Right.
Offer number 2 is 625. So you're getting $25,000 more. Why would you not, as the listing agent, go back to me and say, hey, look, you know, you're coming in cash, you're coming in with all these other terms. If you're willing to go 625, I'll accept your offer. Why would you not do that?
Well, I don't know because I do that.
Exactly.
But I tell you that, I will bring this up. It's kind of part of this, but a little bit different. But sure,
Okay.
I'm always negotiating until we have ink. Once it's signed and ratified,
Exactly.
then I shut everybody down. I said,
Absolutely.
I've told you I had offers. You knew I had offers. I can't wait for you. Seller makes the decision. We accepted one. We're not looking for any more offers. Now, if they force to send me an offer, I said, fine, I'll present it to the seller. He'll consider it as possible backup. And I move on. I will tell you, Sue, as a side note that Bright MLS is going to crack down on agents who use temp off as a cooling off period to negotiate contracts. They're going to start fining us. So,
well, that's important too. I mean, we can't, we need to negotiate. I think that to summarize what we're saying for anybody that's listening, that is listening to us go on and on about negotiating. Counter offers are acceptable. They're something that I believe should happen. They are definitely something that's going to make life easier for everybody. And if your terms on your offer are great and you're like, okay, this is what we want, and then your price is a little lower, there's nothing wrong. As a matter of fact, I think you owe it to your seller to go back to that person that's offering maybe a little bit less and saying, hey, will you go up to this amount? Because the other terms meet and these other buyers cannot meet those terms. Tammy has a number of different loans that she offers. Some are going to be much more attractive than, say, a 0% whatever, So if you're coming in FHA or you're coming in VA, we're going to get into that a little bit. There's a ton of different loans that are available to every buyer. I, for one, always love to get a VA loan because I love working with veterans. I think it's, just a great way to, help somebody that's helped us. But that's another topic. I am a squirrel. I'll go from one topic to another, I know. So anyway, back to negotiation. I think, John, you summarized exactly what I wanted you to say, and that is you counter offer. So guys, don't be afraid to counter offer. It's something that is very important. Don't be afraid to accept and communicate with your seller on a verbal offer. That's how you get a ratified offer. So, I won't keep on about them, but that was the two topics I wanted to bring up.
I just want to add this to this little chapter is that be very careful with submitting escalations, and I'll tell you why. I believe that most agents lack the ability to actually calculate a seller net, and that creates some fear in disclosing and discussing with the seller. I recently submitted an offer with an escalation to 876, closes in 30 days. The only inspection was to the well because they were going VA to go non-contingent. The deal finally settled $16,000 less than our offer after they waited 33 days for the buyer to sell their other property. So they accepted a contingent offer that didn't settle on time and realized less than $16,000. Be careful. I don't think they can calculate them. Just if your client's willing to go to X, just say submit the offer at X. Otherwise, you may lose an offer when your offer was better. And the seller has a million reasons to turn your offer down, but that's my point.
Yep. So an escalation, Tammy, you might be able to help us with this on your end as well. An escalation clause is when we have an offer that's submitted for 500,000 to make the numbers easy, and then it escalates up to 525, so that any other buyer that comes in is going to be able to automatically escalate your offer up to that amount, and then that amount caps out. But it's important for you to know that the pre-approval does have to be based on your escalation number, right, Tammy? You can't just go back and say, oh, by the way, we added $50,000 to this in an escalation clause.
Right.
Do you see, Tammy?
Of course, right. So the pre-approval letter has to be for the top of the escalation. And that's
Absolutely
what a listing agent is looking for. And if the listing agent doesn't catch it, and the pre-approval letter is for 500, but the escalation's to 530, well, that goes to John's point, is there's probably a real estate agent who's not going to be able to explain the escalation clause to the client in a way that they're going to take it, right? So that may be a sign of change your offer to take out the escalation so that you win.
I mean, I hate to speak to people. I hate to speak to people where they think like I'm talking down to them, but it's pretty vital that the listing agent is comfortable, is comfortable with presenting what an escalation is and what it isn't. I mean, maybe in hindsight, I should have the lender call or provide some numbers to show the difference.
There's going to be a lot of foreclosures that hit affecting them for the last 2 years, and they haven't popped up yet. But what is your thought on investment properties and products that are out there for the investors that are listening to us today?
So first and foremost, there are a plethora of investment products out there. There are more investor products than there are products for people buying homes to live in.
I agree.
You're buying a home to live in, right, John? So if you're buying a home to live in, you've got FHA, you've got conventional, you've got VA, you've got USDA. That's basically it. And then there are a few non-traditional programs. Whereas in the investor world, there are many combination of products that you can use. You have I have people who are buying 12-unit apartment buildings. That's considered a commercial mortgage, 5 units and above. I have people buying mixed use buildings where they're operating a business on the first floor and then they have several rental units above. I have people buying fix and flip, so they can buy a property for cheap, for cash or with hard money, fix it up, renovate it, and then sell it, fix and flip or fix and hold. So there are just many different options for real estate investors that many real estate investors don't even realize exist. I had one very good example last night. So a gentleman called in and he said, I saw this on your website and I want this product. I want to buy a 12-unit apartment building. And once he outlined his financial profile and what he's looking for, I said to him, I forget what his name was. Let's just say his name was Joe. I said, Joe, the product that you're looking at does not fit your situation and what you want. However, there is this option and this option and this option. And right away, I rattled off 3 options that were even better than the first. And he said, I didn't even know those exist.
Yeah.
I said, there are just so many. And, you know, Johnny's been in the he was in the mortgage industry how many years?
20.
20. Yeah. So I've been in 20, but you were in it 20 starting longer ago. So
Yeah,
you could
the
speak to that.
conforming limit, remember, was 184, 350.
So, you know, that there are just so many different ways. With real estate investors, there are ways to buy investment properties if you have 0 qualifying income on paper. You can buy in an LLC, you can buy in your individual name, you can buy commercial, you can buy mixed use. The ones, Sue, that you and I have been talking about the most, because it's new and it's very special and exciting, is the 5 to 100 unit product line that we just came out with. And that's basically a way for somebody to purchase an investment property with 5 or more units. It can have up to a 40% mixed use component, meaning 40% of the building can be used for commercial if they wish. And the interest rate's only 6.5 on a 30-year amortization. So
That's
that's a
awesome.
better interest rate than you can get right now for buying a
That's
primary.
amazing.
It's amazing, right?
That's an
So
awesome product.
it's an awesome product. It's a very niche product. It's something that we
That's
just started
crazy.
advertising
Yeah.
the last week. Apps, no
I
personal
have
guarantee permitted. So you don't have those kind of things with primary homes. With primary homes,
No,
you personally guarantee, it must be in your personal name, whether it's a FHA, conventional, VA, or USDA, it has to meet those requirements, and it has to conform to secondary market guidelines. With
yep,
In the investment world, we've got loans that are recourse, meaning that they require a personal guarantee, and ones that are not. We have loans that have 6.5% rate, and we have loans that have 12% rate, depending upon what kind of property it is, how the person is going to use it, what their credit score is, how much investor experience they have. So, moral of the story, and I'm not saying this just to plug myself, is
no,
no.
if you're buying an investment property, refinancing an investment property, or looking just to get into it, make sure that you're working with a realtor and a lender who has a great amount of experience with investment properties, because it's a completely different ballgame, right, Sue?
absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Not something that I do. So, I will say for the record, I'm 4 and under. So, and I want to talk to you a little bit about that, because a 4 and under unit, so 4 units and under, can be financed as a residential sale. So, really important to know, once you get that 5th unit, you're switching into a commercial building.
Exactly.
And I think that it's just amazing that these options are out there, because they weren't, to the best of my knowledge. And again, now, Tammy, one thing I want to plug for you too, even though we're not talking about you specific, commercial is a national license, right? So anybody in the country can call Tammy and buy a commercial property directly from Federal Hill. Am I
That's
correct in that?
absolutely right. That's absolutely
Okay.
right, because it's not state specific licensing,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Huge, 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 huge for anybody outside of Maryland or the service areas that Tammy offers. And that's Maryland, Pennsylvania, Delaware, DC, Virginia, and North Carolina. Am I right?
And also Texas as a one-off.
And Texas. I keep forgetting Texas. Poor Texas. And Texas. But in commercial, you can be anywhere in the United States and call Tammy and she can take care of you. What about Hawaii? Is that still included?
Still included. We can do
Doesn't
commercial
matter.
Hawaii.
Okay. Huge, 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 huge. So please keep in mind, guys, that commercial is an option. If you are thinking about investing, there are a number of tools that are available to you guys from your realtor. So talk to your realtor, tell them what you're looking for, tell them what you want. There's off-market properties, there's on-market properties, there's multi-unit properties that we can search for you. You just kind of have to have an idea of what you want, and then work with a lender that's going to, hold your hand through the process, because it's not the same as your traditional primary residence. Now, Tammy, if somebody were to look at a commercial property, what would you require down versus like, FHA's 3.5. There's some conventional products that even offer 100% financing. When you're talking about a commercial loan, what is the expectation? 10, 15, 20%?
20 to 25. Uh,
Okay.
Usually 20 is enough, but let me just make a point here because believe it or not, this question comes up a lot.
Okay.
Down payment assistance programs are only for primary homes, okay? So
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
they go to my website, they see that I offer all kinds of down payment assistance everywhere, and they want to couple that with an investment property. Because the investment property requires so much money down that most people don't have it. But let me tell you what they can do, and this is something that we recommend frequently to real estate investors purchasing their first, is that most people purchasing an investment property already own a primary home. Uh, so what we do is if that primary home has equity, we can draw a home equity line of credit on their primary home. That's not a refinance. It's just a home equity line of credit. And that can be used as a down payment on a purchase. Now, once that real estate investor is buying their second, third, fourth, fifth, typically they don't need that anymore because they have the one investment property that they've either by then refinanced to pull the equity out of that they then use as a down payment on the next place, or they flipped it and so now they have a profit. So usually that home equity line of credit concept is used just for the first investment property. But I have had real estate investors with a large amount of equity just use the revolving credit just to keep fixing and flipping. That can be done too.
Why not? Right? Why not? I think it's an amazing option and an amazing opportunity for people that want to get started to call, to talk to you, to get all the details. We can't tell you enough. And I know I say this on every podcast and I swear I'm just going to live by it, but this is not a 3-piece puzzle. This is not an 8-piece. You have to know what you're doing, especially getting into investment properties. They're going to be a little bit different because it's not your primary residence. Everybody knows you're going to try everything in your power to keep your primary residence. Where if you fall on hardship, that's why some of that higher down payment, some of that, LLC is required to make sure that you are purchasing the property with the knowledge and with the money into it yourself, right? I mean, they want to see you put a little bit of love into the purchase. Now, there's hard money. When we talk about hard money, that's not something you do. It's something that scares me to death. It's not something that I would do. But there are investment loans for like a one-time, one resident flip. Like, say you want to buy it. You want to take 6 months to fix it up and then you want to sell it. You just have to let Tammy know, this is my goal. This is what I want to do. And then she's going to make a decision as to how or what product's going to be best for you. Anytime you buy a property, I say it over and over and over again, and I'm not trying to plug, love it, or list it, but I think it's important to note, watch the show. If you find an episode, and I say this all the time, if you find an episode where Hillary did not need to ask for more money, call me. I want to see that episode. Because every episode I've ever seen of Love It or List It, there's something that comes up that's in the background. We talked about this last time. And I know we're doing a trifecta with Tammy and we're getting her to do 3 of these podcasts with us. But one of the most important things that you can do is just make sure you understand exactly what you're doing when you're looking into each loan and each program that Tammy offers. Let her help you. Let your realtor help you. Like, they're all different. Every program's different. Every opportunity is different. Do you have anything to add to that, Tammy?
It's interesting that you bring that up because number one, I have gotten into hard money lending. This is new. I haven't even told you.
Really?
I have a number of investors that will lend hard money and
Okay.
do that all over the country. I have one in particular right now. It is in Michigan where the people actually took out a $1.6 million private money mortgage to build a treatment facility.
Okay.
And what happened was they used half of the money because that's how hard money works. It's paid out in draws until it's all used up. They used half the money, and then they realized after the facility was half built that they want to make it bigger than what the original plan provided, but they only had $800,000 left of the 1.6 million. And in order to accommodate the new plan, now they needed an additional million. So now they're coming to
Oh,
me. This is where I enter the picture. Their current hard money lender won't just increase the 1.6 to
No,
2.6. They want me to refinance it. So I need to get them a private money mortgage for 2.6 million to pay off the existing and give them an additional $1 million to build this, what's going to be a really beautiful uh, facility. And that facility is going to be worth 4.225 once said and done. So although hard money or private money, those words are used interchangeably,
yes.
is very expensive. Real estate investors who need to use it, and by the way, you only use it when you absolutely have to, and you only absolutely have to if the property is needing to be worked on before it is habitable, like it's a ground up construction or a total gut and rehab. Or the other instance where you may need to use it is if you have to close within 1 to 2 weeks. That's a hard money lending situation. But that they're going to own an asset with the $2.6 million mortgage on it. That's a big mortgage, but it's worth 4.225. And their
Yeah.
cash flow is going to be $50,000 a month. So
Yeah.
even with the points and the interest rate and the expenses of hard money built in, they still are making a lot of money. So when you, as a real estate investor, much to your point, Sue, is that the entire analysis is different. You're not buying the property because it's a pretty property and you like it. Many real estate investors, they never even see the property. They just want to make sure it cash flows. They want to see that they're buying an investment property. They're not buying an investment property. They're buying a business. And that business has to make money just like every other business.
yep.
Very different mindset, very different approach. And that's one of the reasons that, I mean, I love working with all kinds of buyers, but I especially like working with real estate investors because I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a business owner, and I feel like I'm helping somebody else open a business, even if it's a little business, it's a little buying a little townhome. And they're buying it because of long term, or if it's a flip, short term return. That's it.
Yeah. I think it's so important that we revisit what you're saying. And that is, these options are available. I can't believe you're doing them. Understand that you may need to your first house and you can't really qualify. Then call Tammy, talk about the hard money loan. It's an option now. I'll share a story. One of the biggest sales that I've had, 1.5 million, I think, was to a hard money lender. And it's funny because I was in a mall. I would just got my license. So I was like, it was back 24, 20, or I'm sorry, 04, 05. And my broker had hours that we could sit in the mall at a kiosk and talk to people. And we had a big screen up and everybody could come up and we could search for houses for them. And it was just a great way to meet people and, find clients to work with. And so I was there, I was doing like a 4-hour shift and this man came over and he started talking to me and he stood there and he talked to me for probably an hour and a half, 2 hours. We learned about each other's kids, blah, 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 blah. I'm a talker. So it just kept going. And he said, you know what? I'm going to buy a house from you. And I was like, excellent. That's great. Now, the point of my story is that he came over wearing like Dickies. You know what I mean? Like the work pants that you get for $2 on the side of the road and a shirt that probably he got on the side of the road too. So I didn't care. I'm standing there. Of course, I'm going to treat everybody equally. And he ended up buying a $1.5 million house from me. He owned so many investment properties that he was out working on his own investment properties and he was dressed for work. So it was just amazing to me. And it's such a lesson for all of you realtors or people in general to understand, don't judge a book by its cover, right? Had he walked up looking, clean with $1,000 suit on, I might have been like treating him a little differently. But in actuality, here's this man that I treated with respect, I treated with dignity, and took the time, and he took the time with me, and I ended up selling him a $1.5 million house.
Good.
That's what we need to do, right? Like treat everybody equally. We don't know what their situation is. And that was his personal residence that he bought from me. So he did something that Tammy, I don't know what he did after that, but it was called a negative interest mortgage.
Negative AM.
Yes, yes, the
Yeah.
only one I have ever done. But he wanted to keep his cash, so that's basically what happened. I'm sure you had to refinance after the
That was
wild.
a while ago, Sue, because those negative AM loans have been out for a while. That
Yeah,
must
this
have
is
been
back
between
in probably
2005.
yeah,
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 yeah.
05.
The only
So,
negative AM mortgage right now that's being offered is a reverse mortgage. That's a negative AM mortgage. But
right.
they used to be very popular back then.
Yeah, yeah. So
Tammy, you used to sell your negams to WAMU
WAMU, Washington Mutual, of course.
uh,
or
And
Countrywide.
IndyMac. Remember IndyMac?
Indy Mac, yeah, Countrywide.
Countrywide IndyMac. Yep.
Yep.
AmWest. Yep.
WAMU.
WAMU. That's right.
yeah. So we we have I think really attacked today and brought so much information to our listeners. Realtors, I want you to understand how important you are and how much value you bring. And I want you to join us if you would like to, because we are in it together. We're in it to win it. We're out of 24. Say goodbye to it. Don't look in the rearview mirror. It's small for a reason. Let's look forward. The windshield is much bigger than the rearview mirror. So let's just keep going forward. Let's keep believing in each other. Let's negotiate. Let's communicate. And, if you need a hug, call John. He's good for one. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, anybody else that's listening, for all the it, I am married. For every man that's sending me messages, thank you, but I am married. Tammy's laughing like, what? So, okay, well, we're going to cut it short now, and we will talk to you next time. Please let me know if you have any questions. As always, you can watch our full episode on Home Joiner. You can also watch us on YouTube. You can listen to us on any of your podcasts, and we will look forward to working with you and talking to you soon.